Hello, everyone. This is Activities Across Grade Levels. Today, our topic is sharing a message. We're going to talk to you about graphic design, short videos, capturing attention, all these kinds of things. And we are excited to do so as we are every week. And then there is like that reminder, and like I need it almost every time. There was that one time I remembered, and I was so proud of myself. Just saying. And we should pass out a thank you because that is another good thing to do. Thank yous go to all sorts of folks. Certainly thank you to Susan, my good buddy with whom we make this thing happen. But all of you for joining us as well live, and those who watch the recording, we appreciate you. We thank all of the good folks in Fowler USD for being a part of a cool effort. You know, like if you don't know the story of Susan's work in Fowler to create a brand new school this summer that would allow them to address things, then that's a story you want to hear at some point for sure. Stick around later if time allows for everybody. All right, and the good folks at the Craft Center for Innovation at Foothill College Merit Program, their new blended and online certificate program is out as well. So a lot of cool things happening at the KCI. I want to thank Richard Byrne for helping promote these as well. He and I do another Next Vista webinar that happens at 1 o'clock Pacific on Thursdays, 4 o'clock Eastern. And what we do is we take questions, and people send their questions in, and we just kind of give them answers, and hopefully they are useful answers to them, and we can share cool stuff as well. One of the things was kind of so well received earlier today that I just popped it into our program. So we'll get to that as well. So we will hopefully see you next week for two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And if you have never caught it, feel free to watch one of the recordings just to see what you might be in for. But we would love to have you. All right, so it is good to meet you. And Susan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Susan Stewart. I'm an instructional technology coach from the Central Valley of California. I work in a small district called Fowler, as Rushton mentioned, and I am a teacher on special assignment. I spent 14 years as a kindergarten and grade 2 teacher before that, and I'm a mom of 3, and I'm very excited to be here with you today.
And my name is Rushton. I am a former high school teacher of Japanese language, a former principal of a K-12, and then an online high school. And I have spent the last 15 years running Next Vista for Learning. This is my little nonprofit. It's my little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. We've got over 2,700 videos made by teachers and students around the world about how to think of the different things you learn, about different communities in different places, about service to others. For those who are learning English, we've got a collection of more than 600 videos to help English language learners. We've got videos for careers, videos for advice for teens, and we hope that you will give that a look. And if you have any questions, just let us know. And speaking of let us know, I'm going to pop the newsletter link into the chat. And if you sign up, or if you're already signed up, if you just kind of fill it out and in the comment section, put just trying to win, I'm already on, totally fine. You will have your email address in the hat for a drawing for a $5 Starbucks card, because it is more fun to win a Starbucks card than it is not to. All right, how are we going to do this today? What we do is we take a theme and then we say, what does this look like at different grade levels? So what does this look like in the young group, K to 2? What does this look like in upper elementary? What does it look like in middle, high school? And we're going to go through these ideas of sharing a message today with that in mind. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Susan so she can start talking to us about the K to 2 crowd.
Absolutely. So, starting to talk about sharing a message with young learners, one of the ways we do that is simply by putting our thoughts on paper. And, I see two examples of a message being shared here. And sometimes just giving students an opportunity to look and question and wonder and notice things about how you share your message. We might encourage students from an early age to use nice writing. And we tell them, make sure you write neatly, make sure you write neatly. But how often do we actually talk about the why there? Why is it important that I write clearly? Well, I have an audience. Who's my audience? Who are you creating for? Who's going to read this? And are they going to be able to understand your message? Sometimes just saying you have to write nice because you have to write nice isn't necessarily understood, but oh, your mom can read what you've said when you use nice writing, and the whole idea of writing clearly. Lots of conversations there about, is the written word important? But, I'm just going to stick with the idea that we still want to be able to express a message. So knowing that we write in a way that's clear is a starting point. And also just how images support the message. Just this right here. What do you notice about these two photos? And asking kids to notice the difference. Well, the sentence says, my dog Chester is brown. And I notice that in the lower picture, the dog is brown. That supports the message. And that's one of the Common Core standards that we start in kindergarten says, how do images support a text or support a message? So just being able to start those conversations with learners, even from a very early age. I'm creating a message, I'm going to have an audience, and how I share my message matters, right? Making sure that it's very clear to whoever is going to be reading it. So as we continue on, just additional conversations we might have when we move into the digital world, right? Going from analog over here to digital, teaching young learners to support their message by inserting images directly into a Google Slides. Now, a lot of us who learned the internet many moons ago might have the habit of, when we go search for an image, the habit we learned is to open up a new tab and go out to a Google search and find an image, but just really reinforcing the idea that we can do a Google image search for images that are copyrighted for us to use right within slides, and teaching kids, modeling that for our young learners, that they can insert an image straight there from the slide. It streamlines the process for young hands, right? We're trying to get images to support our message there, but also just makes it, it really does model those best practices. So, when I'm starting with young ones, with kindergartners, we might simply insert a single image to support the message. Teach them those basics of how to bring in an image, how to resize an image, just talking about images in general. And then of course we can expand, because as we, if you will go ahead and click on that lower book, see in the top message, that is a kindergartner, and there we were just practicing getting images. But here we went to the next level, right? Because Ashlyn, who was actually a first grader here, had had some experiences with inserting images, and we'd had conversations about color and text and contrast, like all those words, they seem like big words, but we brought them even down into first grade. If you go ahead and turn the page, Ashlyn published a book. And this is Ashlyn's book about her dog. And as you go ahead and just flip through the other pages, you can see that there's something going on here. Her message is very clear, and it's actually very visually appealing too, because we talked about filling space. We talked about using, a consistent color scheme. Sometimes you give kids some Google Slides, you know what they do? They use every color and font they can. So just those little design tips that maybe no one directly instructed you, right? So just giving students that opportunity to make that transition from consumers to creators, talking about transparency. If you look at an image like this and talking to students about how if I had put a solid gray box, it kind of messes with the photo, right? I don't get to see the whole puppy dog. And just talking about that idea of transparency. Oh, let's see what happens if I slide this little slider down and make it partially transparent. Little things like that. Now, is this the thing that Ashlyn created on the first day of kindergarten? Absolutely not, right? This is something that we built up to. We start with the apples and then can build on up to things like this, but having those conversations right there. And then of course, additional ways that we might support a message here. Something like an animation, like an animated GIF or that arrow, seems like a silly thing to have an animation on a page, but it really does, when I have a blinky light arrow kind of thing, it's another way I can share my message. When I'm trying to clarify things for young learners, something that goes right here, it really does support the message, and anything we can do to support our message is going to be helpful with those little ones who might be early and non-readers. So as we continue on, speaking of those young learners, when we offer images and emoji as part of those visual cues, it seems like, oh, that's silly, putting all the little, what do we call them, like icons in there. But when you think about it, again, kindergartners and first graders don't necessarily read. So here I have this big brick of text of instructions, but how useful is that if I have an early and non-reader? So anytime we can use images to scaffold up and just give them some of those visual cues, that's awesome. Right there at the bottom, you can see how clear it is. There's that star. That's a post from Google Classroom. And what the teacher does is every week she puts a star on this week's work. It's a little thing the teacher can do by putting that in there, but it helps support the message that this one right here, this is where you're going to learn today. And little things, let's talk about the nuance of that monkey. Monkey starts with like Monday. And Taco Tuesday, how can you miss that? That's just another one of those little things that help, that really help just scaffold that up, make it very clear to the students, the message. This is today, making that obvious to them. So as we continue on to just.
Hey, Susan, before we go too far, we had a question in the chat about how do you make the lights blink on the arrow?
So I just searched for an animated GIF, and I noticed, Rushton, as you're showing it there, is it blinking on your screen? Because on my screen it actually wasn't, but.
It is not on my screen.
Oh my goodness. I wonder that is. So I might have copied the wrong one. Oh, huh.
You can
So
bring it back. You can bring it back a little later, and we'll take a look at it. And that
so
works just fine.
so when you search for an animated GIF or GIF, depending on what team you're on, sometimes you can find blinky lights. So I went in and just said blinking arrow GIF, but for some reason I must have taken a screenshot instead of downloading and uploading it. So that's probably what happened there. But anything that can blink. But if you could just do a search for animated GIF arrow, you'll find ones that are spirally and boingy and all kinds of ways that you can find those things, just to point out right here, guys, this one right here, little ways to help share that message there. All right, and then as we move up a little bit in the grades, as we go up to our slightly older learners, we talk about, again, trying to share a message. Right now, the message that teachers are trying to get to kids more than anything is, what am I supposed to do? How does this online learning thing? And I've seen teachers come up with all kinds of ways to try to use tables and make things clear. But the truth is, like, looking at this, yeah, you've expressed to me what I'm supposed to do each day, right? As a student, I can follow this. But I'm going to be honest, it's not very visually interesting or appealing. So, while it's great, you have links, it's clear, I'm sharing my message in a way that students know each day what the expectations are. As we continue on to the next page, you'll see there's little things we could do to just kick that up a notch. Because if you head over here to Slidesmania, this is an example of how someone has taken that same idea of, here, I want to clarify with you what your expectations are, but we've made it much more just visually interesting by adding those colors and big numbers, days of the week. It really does help our learners just navigate this online learning environment. A single table, white and black, it works, it's very clear. But one thing we want to do is make sure that we continue to engage our kids. So by sharing our message of what the expectations are through some of these fun, creative slides, it's just another way. It's another way to make sure that students are clear about what's expected. By clicking on that Monday, it takes me to a Monday page. It's very clear what's going on. If you have not had a chance to visit Slidesmania yet, like, run, don't walk. Get yourself over there and see some of those amazing templates, because we're not all graphic designers, right? We don't all come with that inherent, like, knowing what colors look good together. And I'll tell you what I love about Paula's resources there at Slidesmania is that the work is often already done, that visual end. And then that way you can focus on the content, and teachers can focus on the content. So being able to share that there, yes, absolutely. Visually appealing and easy to use. So talking about the student end of this, as our upper elementary learners are starting to become those creators as well, we can customize things. We can talk about how simple and creative crops, the tiniest little nugget there of the race car as it comes in from the Google image search versus the race car that's had an image mask placed on it, right? We've used the image masking tool right in Google Slides to visually show that just slightly different. It shows motion. It shows the message in a different way. We can see something going. So when I think about cycles, I think about processes, I think about anything that shows movement, or maybe it's my puppy dog and I put a little heart around it. That creative cropping, the image masking tool right in Google Slides is just another way to help, again, support the message, clarify the message. Race cars move. Race cars are fast. Hey, look at it go. It's shaped like an arrow. Little things we can do. And then, of course, the customization we can do with our Bitmojis. You may or may not know, and Rushton, I love the fact that I can customize Bitmojis. And my teachers are starting to use custom Bitmojis as their digital feedback in student work. Yeah, you want to model that for us? When you come up there and you click on a Bitmoji extension, one thing you can do is you can type something in. And what it allows us to do is customize. So that Bitmoji by nature doesn't say Rushton Rocks, but if I do a Bitmoji search and I type something in, I can actually show that there. I can make it say whatever I want it to say by just doing a search for a certain phrase, it pops it up. So it's a really nice way for us to be able to use that. So some teachers will even, find the pointy Bitmoji girl and say, put a period there, or add punctuation, or check your spelling. It's little silly things we can do. But again, trying to share that message, offering feedback through a Bitmoji, it just gives the students that idea that, okay, my teacher is trying to share this message with me, telling me that I need to, or maybe that I did a great job, or maybe that I need to fix up my work. So anything we can do to customize there, just a fun other way to share a message through custom Bitmojis.
It's really cool. I didn't know you could do custom Bitmojis. I'm like, cool bit of learning for me today. That's awesome.
Yeah, you click there on it, and I don't know if you got a chance to try it. Whatever you type, it will bring up there. Yep.
Very cool.
And then, again, in the student creation end, just the little things we can do to have them share a message. This here's a pro con, right? They're trying to find two sides of an argument, and the way that the students were able to visually represent that, one side here, one side there, showing the images in one space. It's just that creative way to, the students could have written a compare contrast paragraph, but instead we've got this visual representation of the message they're trying to share, right? The pros and the cons of wind turbines. And by putting it there on one page, it's just, again, a great way for students to use images to support the message or support an idea that they're trying to share.
Very cool. And nice that you added that slide deck from Mari as well. She is a gem.
Absolutely. One of my favorites.
Very cool. Let's take things up to middle school and talk a little bit about capturing attention there. One of the very best ways to capture attention is to create a little video. And so when you are talking about creating videos, one of the things to know is that simplicity has kind of an added value for you. So when you're thinking about tech tools that have lots and lots of different things you might do, you run into some issues with regard to kids kind of getting lost in the tech. All right. So we're going to say California, because Susan and I are both in California. We're going to call it that. And when you first start into Spark, go to start from scratch, because these templates are cool, but unless you kind of know what you're doing in Spark, they might confuse you. So say, all right, well, just go ahead and start it. And let's see if we can create something really, really quick using Spark, because it's kind of nice to be able to just throw something together really, really fast. So it's got some different themes. So you might pick, whatever kind of stands out to you, statement, and you really want, say, the orange one or whatever. Okay, so you go with that, fine. Then you add stuff by clicking on the little plus in the middle, and you say, okay, we're going to talk about California, and we're going to add another slide. And I say slide, these are really parts of a video. So they're kind of like just little pieces of a video, but we'll say slides because it kind of looks like we're doing a slides thing there. So it's kind of useful to talk about it that way. And so we'll pick one of the icons, bring that in. Ooh, nice big in there. All right. Then we come in and we say, all right, let's add a photo. It'll do a search on California because that's what I just did a search on. And let's say we see, a surfing picture, and we figure that that's a nice stereotype for us, and we toss that in. The nice thing about Spark is that you can create these things really, really easy, right? So once you've done that, you use the little red doodad here to just record your voice. All right, we're talking a little bit about California. California is a big old state, and it takes a long time to drive from the southern end all the way up to the Oregon border. And as far as I know, it's not true that we get out of school on a good surf day, but I've heard that before. All right, so you'll probably come up with something far better. However, what this has done is this has put together something very quickly for me. So we'll take a look at what it created. Here we go. All right, we're talking a little bit about California. California is a big old state, and it takes a long time to drive from the southern end all the way up to the Oregon border. And as far as I know, it's not true that we get out of school on a good surf day, but I've heard that before. Now that's easy, right? I mean, that's the thing for a lot of teachers, the ability to put something like this together really, really quickly, because then you can download it, you can share it, and when it shares it, it's in like this Adobe page that has like no particular distractions on it, which is really nice as well. And it didn't pick the photos. I picked those, Peggy, good, and you can upload your own. So you can imagine actually kids uploading the art they've done, telling their stories, or pictures of different elements along the way in a science experiment so that they can take their way through the scientific method. There's a lot of different pieces that you can put together with a quick tool. But in terms of like graphic design, visual, capturing attention, this does a good job of creating something really, really quickly, which is nice. It's just nice to have something that you can throw together fast. Let's keep going. If you have questions about that, we'll certainly come back. All right. Now there are some really good resources out there for finding some, beautiful, beautiful pictures. When you think about things like the idea of symmetry, so if we're thinking about design in some way, people are interested in symmetry. It captures their attention in interesting ways. And so if you begin looking for things in some cool places, and I've kind of highlighted Wikimedia Commons here. And if you didn't know about Wikimedia Commons, I certainly want you to know about this resource. What this is loads and loads of images that are uploaded for free for others to use. And you might say, well, it sounds like Wikipedia. That's because all of the images on Wikipedia are actually housed in Wikimedia Commons. They do photo contests, all kinds of nice things. So if you look at this particular image that we tossed in there, you say, okay, wow, there's a lot here. You can see that there's other resolutions of the picture to download. If you want to grab that, right, you look down, it's got some information. Colin was the person who put this up, or that's the username in Wikimedia for this person, right? And this is the Creative Commons license that Colin applied to it as well. So a lot of different information becomes available to you about these things, and you can kind of take a good look in as you look around. Loads and loads of good stuff in Wikimedia Commons. All right, let's go up to high school. Now, with our high schoolers, let's take this from another level. I wanted to step back a bit in terms of homework when we talk about how kids bring a little creativity to what they do. One of the things that I have done this semester with my class that I co-teach, called Creative Solutions for the Global Good, is one where in each of the homework items, I try to ask them a little something extra. So I've asked things like, include something in your homework that wasn't called for in the instructions, right? Or format your answers in a cool way, right? Or add something that shows you went way beyond what the instructions call for. I mean, there's just a number of different things that might prompt a student to say, well, what do you want me to do? I want you to become somebody who isn't asking that question, frankly. So what we want, right, is for students to kind of bring a little of themselves to the assignments. And I think a little bit of unexpected is good for you, the teacher, because you get something back from the student and it's something that you look at and you're like, that's fantastic, right? I'm really excited about what this student did. You need those moments of surprise as well. Now, I thought it also might be interesting for people to think about, okay, how do you kind of make slides look a little different? And so I've had a number of people compliment us on these title slides for our little webinar, and I thought I'd show you how this works. So you look at these different activities across grade level pieces, and you've got these images, and you've got like this white part. We talked about the transparency earlier. We're going to show exactly how that works, right? So you say, okay, well, I need an image. And so if you need an image, you might say, all right, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go to, I'm going to grab like one of these higher res versions of this. I'm going to right click on it and copy the image address. And then I go back and I say image by URL and I paste. And there it is. And so I insert it. And so I might crop it a bit, trying to say, okay, what I want to do is I want to get this, to kind of fill the page just right. And so I do that, and then I'll bring it down a bit and stuff like that. You can stretch it out a bit if you want. I'm moving fast, but there you go. So you have like this nice image. Okay, fine. Now, how do you get that kind of white bar behind the text? Well, I created a white bar in Google Draw, right? And so I'm just dragging it in from my desktop. Or I think I'm dragging in from the, there we go, dragging in from the desktop, boom, and we can put it right here. And then because it's just a white image, you can stretch it however you want. But then you go to format options and adjustments, and here's where you adjust that transparency that Susan was telling us about before. And so now we've got that different look to it, and I can say, all right, I'm going to add a text box, right? And I'm going to do that. And before I do anything with it, I'm going to go ahead and center it because I'm kind of that kind of guy. I'm going to choose a different font. I'm a trebuchet guy, right? And I want to say, let's just make this a little bigger. and we're gonna make it bold, and black is fine. So I'm gonna click here. And actually one more thing, I'm gonna do that as well. And say symmetry. Right. And then I'm gonna say, let's center that way. Let's make that quite a bit larger. Oops. Make sure you select everything before you go right there, 48, boom. And now we have that kind of look to our slide. And it's not hard to do. You can always like bring the transparency down of the background image to kind of emphasize it a bit more. I would then go to the trouble of adding the citation for the Wikimedia Commons page as well, but that's how we go about making these. And so if you're ever interested in a little bit of behind the curtain stuff on that, you can. Today, in terms of capturing attention, sharing a message, we got a bonus item. And the bonus share is this. In Zoom, very recent updates to Zoom. You have to update your PC or Mac version of this to make this work, right? Not the web version. And what you can do now is that once you're in gallery view, you as the host can click on one of the pictures, drag it, and arrange the pictures in the order that you want, which is pretty cool. Once you've done that, the view bit here has a few other options. You can click follow host video order. And what that really means is that everybody will be following your order for gallery view. And so it will switch it so that people see those things, which is pretty cool. And if you didn't know that this is one of those things you could do in Zoom, now you do. Now, remember, you have to update Zoom, right? The desktop application to 5.2 or 3 or whatever it is now, so that works. But if you always wanted for this this arrangement in the gallery to be kind of a custom gallery view, you can now do that. So hope that is something fun. Kara says, wish it would save. You're right, but we got to walk before we can run. I think a lot of teachers are teaching Zoom how to like manage these things so that they're better and better for us. So absolutely, you are right about that. And they really need to kind of get better and better about how we deal with breakout rooms. But still, the breakout rooms are pretty darn wonderful. All right, everybody. We always tell you that you need to be taking care of yourself. That if that's a reminder that you need, boom, you got it. Make sure you're getting a chance to get outside and walk around a bit. If the air is good here, not so much today, California wildfires, but you are getting some exercise. You're eating the right food. Get enough sleep, because some kid may need you to be creative at a time where it's just desperately important. So if you are taking good care of yourself, all the better. As I said earlier, I hope you'll sign up for the newsletter. There's a lot of good content in the newsletter. And by the way, the videos shared in this month's newsletter, oh my. You will be like, there's a bunch of them that you're going to be like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Wait, tissue, right? Or that's so cool. Had a kid respond to one of them this morning. He said, that is over the top cool. And I thought, well, that's a good thing to hear right there. So you can find out more about my writing at rushton.com. I have written some books, which if you have a team that you're going to be like doing this as a book study, I will work with you on that to share a few ideas. If it's just kind of a quick visit, I'll do that for free. But if you want to do something a little more involved, I'd be happy to talk to you about that possibility as well. If you've got questions, stick around, because after we stop the recording, we will be happy to answer them. And we hope you will join us next week when we do activities across grade levels, and the theme is international connection. So if you're like, I haven't been traveling, I love to travel, come and join us. We have got some fun stuff that's going to happen for you. All right, Susan, how would people stay in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on the internet, usually under the handle under most places at Tech Coach Susan, Twitter especially. You can also see things that I create and share under the hashtag K2Can2, all about really making sure that people know what those littlest learners can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, you can find me at Rushton H on Twitter. And if you go to nextvista.org/contact, you can send questions or thoughts or manifestos or whatever you need there. Want to send a few shout outs in the chat as well. A number of folks that I recognize, in the list of people here. So Peggy in Arizona, who is just a lifelong dedicated educator who's done so much good, and it's great to have you there. And Julianne, our new buddy from Ottawa, you know, and your library work up there. Good to have you. I see Justin from Merit 20. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so many other, and like all these good comments from Kara, and then just Carmen, who I think is joining us from Peru. That is muy cool. All right. And so Sheila, good friend of the webinars right there. I mean, just all sorts of good folks. Just keep joining us. Like, this is just a gathering of good folks, and we're glad to have you with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish this up. At the moment, I am going to stop the recording by going to that little element right there. And once I do, we'll just keep talking to those folks who joined us. And if you've been watching it as a recording, thank you for doing so. You can find all of the info, the slides and the links on our webinars page on Next Vista. And if you can't, let me know and I'll send you that link. Take care. We'll see you next week.